Hey YouTube, it's Zycro, and I'm going to talk about why atheism is not a threat to organized religions. Now, right now we do have some like new atheists going on, and they're making a good career out of selling books about why religion is evil, the root of all evil, things like the God Delusion and Letter to a Christian Nation, talking about the uselessness of religion and how religion is a virus, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But really, these guys are, well, for one, they're pretty much dinosaurs. I mean, the idea of being a skeptic, of being an atheist, is as old as philosophy itself. And every once in a while, every couple other generations, atheism kind of gets rediscovered as something exciting and new. However, the fact is, and history just proves this, there's never been atheistic culture that has lasted more than a couple generations. Uh, you do need, whether you agree in the validity of these beliefs or not, it simply doesn't matter. A culture has to have a mythos in order for it to be have a cohesive identity. It has to have a mythos or a religion in order to be vibrant and expansive and to stick around for more than a couple generations. And now you're going to say, okay, what about like the Soviet Union? That was atheistic, and they lasted a long time. Well, actually, for one, they didn't last a long time, and for two, no atheist, with good reason, is going to ever want to claim the Soviet Union as like an atheist success, because it's such a horrible failure on all levels as a country. Um, but the truth is that the Soviet Union was atheistic. They were an official atheist state, just like North Korea is now. However, they still had their mythos. They believed that eventually the Soviets would dominate the planet because their ideology of having, no belief in anything that's imaginary or fake, like religion, and that everything was going to work toward the real measurable success of mankind, that's eventually going to make people get along and live in harmony, and there's going to be food and plenty for everybody, and everyone's going to be able to achieve their dreams, blah, 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 and everything's going to be awesome. As long as we don't believe in superstitions and we live in peace and we do everything the collective says, we'll be great. That was their mythos, okay? So that goes beyond the statement that there is no God or gods. You might, it's not enough to call it a religion, but you might as well call it a religion. You know why? Because these people in the Soviet Union, the proletariat, uh, they had to attend these lectures that were like sermons, except they were more boring, and they went on and on and on about how you had to believe in the Soviet Union and how to be a good member of the party, etc. So to say that the Soviet Union had no religion is ridiculous. The Soviet Union had a religion of communism, and so that right there refutes the fact that there's been any states that have been like officially atheistic. North Korea is atheistic, but they essentially believe in like dear leader. It's some horrible cult from you don't even want to know. And right now, the Scandinavian countries, people always tout them as being atheistic and that sort of thing. But my vote's out on this, and I'll tell you why. Because I always hear like Christians and religious types saying, oh, look, the Scandinavian countries, they've got a low birth rate and a high suicide rate, and they're all alcoholics. And then you've got the atheists who say the Scandinavians are the healthiest, best, superhuman, supermensch, ubermensch people in the world, and they don't believe in religion. Okay, now those are the two extremes. I've been to Scandinavia, and I didn't meet any people who are like real fundamentalist Christians or anything, but I didn't meet people who were hardcore atheists. All the people I talked to over there believed in God in a general sense. So I think a lot of the stats on one side or the other about Scandinavia are bullshit, and they're just propaganda. Um, now, as as far as the rest of Western Europe, like England and France and those parts of the world that have really, really, they've really separated themselves from their religious roots. Uh, well, I think they back up my point that a culture can't survive without a mythos or a religion because even as those cultures still exist, they've still got their borders and their standing armies and their economies and everything. They're not producing much as cultures these days. I mean, their heyday is kind of in the past. And what's scary is they've got negative birth rates or zero birth rate, uh, and they're essentially being replaced as a culture by Islam. And the reason that that's scary is because I think Islam is essentially a backward culture. It is a social de-evolution to go from, Western Europe to Islam, to fundamentalist Islam. And the thing is, it's just happening. And there are projections that say that France will be majority Muslim in like 40 years. So within our lifetime, we're going to see France go from what it is now to being like Saudi Arabia or Iran. That's pretty horrifying. But at the same time, I think it just backs up my point that without a mythos for those indigenous people of France to cherish and adopt something that gives their culture dynamicism, to have at least a stable birth rate, and they can say, look, this is our culture, and we don't want your culture, that they're by default allowing a more dynamic culture to overtake them, not because it's better, but just because it has a religious element in it. And so anyway, the thing about atheism is even St. Augustine, he was a skeptic when he was a student basically and a young man. And atheism comes and goes, but the fact is that there's no atheistic societies, and there never have been, and there never will be, because people are always going to need a mythos or a religion to answer the hard things in life that simply a lack of belief in God or gods does not provide. And anyway, people are free to think what they want. I mean, but the fact is, a lot of people who are getting freaked out about the new atheists, it's just a flash in a pan, and really they're way behind the research in things like the evolutionary psychology of religion and that sort of thing that points to the fact that whether you believe it or not, people are religious creatures. And to say that religion is just a virus is the most outmoded and backwater concept of why people believe in religion or myth that anyone could put up. And I mean, Dawkins and those folks should be aware that there's like 25 years of research into the psychology of religion and why we as a species are a religious creature. It's really embarrassing, I guess, to call yourself a scientist these days and to dismiss the enormous phenomena of religion as being a fantasy. But anyway, peace out. I gotta eat my dinner now.